All right, we're back here on Live Impact News. We're going to go to a press conference with family members of the late Elijah McClain. You may recognize the name. Let's give a refresher on this case. So today, a Colorado court reversed homicide convictions against two paramedics. This happened yesterday. A Colorado court reversed homicide convictions against two paramedics in the 2019 death of Elijah McClain. Elijah McClain was pinned down by police and injected with a fatal dose of ketamine. His final words, "I can't breathe." This actually came before the George Floyd case a year later in Minneapolis, and the Colorado man's name became a part of those widespread social justice protests that swept the United States in 2020. An unforgettable time indeed. Now, the appeals court ordered new trials for Aurora Fire Rescue paramedics Jeremy Cooper and Peter Chichuniek. McClain had been forcibly restrained and put in a neck hold by police, who stopped him in response to a suspicious person complaint as the massage therapist walked home from a convenience store in a Denver suburb in 2019. So McClain, according to this reporting from the Associated Press, was a massage therapist. He was walking home from a convenience store in a Denver suburb. There was a call out to police about a suspicious person complaint. That resulted in police forcibly restraining and putting in a neck hold McClain, at which point he was injected with a fatal dose of ketamine. Criminal charges against the paramedics and emergency medical technicians involved in police custody cases are rare. McClain's death raised questions about the use of ketamine to subdue struggling suspects. The prosecution, widely impactful, not just on the psyche of America, but on first responders across the United States. New trials in the case will return the issue to the spotlight and could make first responders think twice when responding to calls involving people in police custody. A jury in 2023 found Cooper and Kichuniek guilty of criminally negligent homicide following a weeks-long trial in state district court. The jurors also found Kichuniek guilty of second-degree felony assault. So Kichuniek received 5 years in prison. Cooper avoided prison and was sentenced to 14 months in jail with work release and probation. So consequences for the officers as well, but those paramedics... those are the paramedics that we're speaking about. The criminally negligent homicide convictions are the ones that were overturned that we are talking about today. I apologize. I did not mean to create confusion there. Just trying to give as much background as we can. The appeals court will now experience more activity as Colorado Attorney General Phil Weisner will appeal Thursday's decision, according to a spokesperson. But what we're going to hear from now is the family of Elijah McClain as they continue to grapple with the consequences of a tragic day in 2019. Let's take a listen.
Thank you. Thank you. Before or after I end, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. After my remarks, we will open up for questions from the press. The Declaration of Independence says, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." The founders of this country once said that life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are to be granted to all of us, unless you are black, unless your name is Elijah McClain, unless your name is Kylan Lewis, Jalen Sebron, Rajon Belt Stubblefield, and the litany of others that we have lost to police violence. And today we say no more. Most of us will never understand the pain it will be to be Miss Shanine McClain, to be Miss Veronica Sebron, or Miss LaRonda Jones. But those women were born for such a time such as this. They were born to be able to be the leaders that the community needs in moments of tension. They were born to make sure that their sons' names receive justice. Elijah McClain's name should be able to rest in peace. Instead, Elijah McClain's name consistently, because of a system, has to be brought back up to say his life was not the same as it were if he was a white boy. The courts got this wrong by overturning the convictions of Elijah McClain's murderers. The courts got this wrong when they said the jury of your peers didn't understand what they were convicting you on. The courts got this wrong, and I'll close with this, is that it is up to every single one of us to stand up, to fight back, to not allow this moment to be a moment where we sit comfortably. If it means we take it to the streets, so be it. If it means we return to 2020, so be it. If it means we show up to every Aurora City Council meeting, so be it. If it means we show up to the Aurora Fire Department, so be it. If it means we have to show up to the Aurora Police Department, so be it. We will not rest until justice comes for every person who has been taken by law enforcement. And the challenge now that I will issue is to the Aurora City Council. You acknowledged in a $15 million settlement that what happened to Elijah should not have happened. So now we look forward to the emergency resolution passed by council affirming what happened to Elijah should have never happened, that you support the original convictions, and that we will never allow history to be rewritten about Elijah McClain. You may write us down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trot us in the very dirt, but still, like dust, we will rise. Thank you. And now we'll turn it over to Median to lead us in questions from the press.
Are there any questions from the members of press?
How do you interpret the court's decision legally?
How do we interpret the court's decision legally? The interpretation that we have as a community is that the courts will use anything they can to ensure that the system does not offer or afford accountability when there is a black life involved. That is the only way to interpret this. There are countless individuals, specifically black individuals, that are in the legal system asking for appeal. And they don't get the same treatment in those appeal decisions. For the Court of Appeals to say that this was about jury instructions on the standard of care, it's funny because I was at every day of the trial and I understood that instruction. For the Court of Appeals to require that the prosecution somehow, some way, get someone else involved or have to prove that someone else was involved, there's nothing that I can tie into logic. The paramedics knew the dosage that they were giving a 143-pound young man. They knew the dosage was enough to sedate a full we witnessed coming to fold, we can only interpret that the Court of Appeals is yielding to an agenda of the brand of the Aurora Fire and Rescue. This was never about justice. This was about an optic. And they told us they would give us a conviction. We got 1 conviction out of 5. They told us we would get a sentencing. Peter Shakuniak was sentenced to 5 years in prison. But after serving 4 months and a day, the same judge reconsidered the sentence, released him to probation. And then just about 4 years later, the Court of Appeals said that's not enough. We will overturn the conviction. Every page you turn in this story is full of evil. Every page you turn in this story strips us of our humanity. And we need to grapple with the question of what are we asking the McClain family to do, and why are we asking them to do it? That's how we interpret that judgment.
You're asking for, within the next 24 hours, for political candidates, members of the state legislation to publicly come forward and acknowledge and confirm this conviction. What if they don't? And if they do, what will next steps look like?
I'll first answer the question of what if they don't affirm to support this conviction. I will say, welcome to your legacy. This is a moment where there is a roster. When this story is retold, every name that speaks on the right side of justice will be remembered as such. Every name that is on the wrong side of justice will be remembered as such. And if you don't, that question will turn into a demand. And as we have seen in history, protest is the language of those unheard. We have the playbook, we have the capacity, and we also, let me be clear, we have the clarity. So understand that when we show up demanding what we are seeking, do not try to pass it off like we're just being emotional. And do not ask us to be polite, because we're tired of that too. We have yielded through patience. You gave us a conviction, and now you are taking it away. So there's only one answer left from the people, and we are ready to provide that answer. We have not had specific conversations yet. We wanted to announce this publicly first to ensure that they understand that this is a collective call to action. We do have the resources and the intentionality to ensure that if we feel like they don't hear us in this press conference, we know how to reach you. You are not hard to find. These requests are reasonable. They are thoughtful, and they should be catalytic, because it is not enough. Our systems have not done enough, but we will start there. My final words will be to Jeremy Cooper and Peter Shakuniak. No matter what this legal system does with your conviction, what you cannot escape are your quiet moments knowing that you murdered Elijah McClain. What you cannot escape are the needs of who will eventually become elders that will retell our children, our grandchildren, and our great-grandchildren and everyone thereafter exactly who murdered Elijah McClain. Your legacy was already written when you decided to watch the police murder Elijah McClain and you decided to join in. So you might be able to celebrate this on paper, but what you cannot shake is the evil in your spirit that you will have to live through. Your legacy is tied to the murder of Elijah McClain. You made that choice. Your children, your grandchildren, and everyone thereafter will have to hear the story about your participation in the murder of Elijah McClain. So we may have to stand and fight in this moment, but we wish you everything you deserve in your moments alone. Because what you cannot take away is the truth. And as it was said before, to the living we owe respect. To the dead, we owe the truth. You did not offer Elijah McClain respect in life. But what we will not allow you to do is to deny him the truth in his death. Justice for Elijah McClain. Justice for Shanine McClain. Justice for everyone who has had to come before and after. And I challenge
Okay, we're back here in the studio after hearing from the family of Elijah McClain following the overturning of convictions of those paramedics who injected McClain with ketamine on the day of his death while he was being restrained by police. And not just restrained by police, but we do have details here, however difficult to hear, about those restraints. It was forcibly restrained and put in a neck hold by police. McClain's final words were, "I can't breathe." And as you heard, they are continuing to fight for justice there as they continue to fight for the memory of Elijah McClain. And we do want to update, those are the paramedics we're talking about. There were obviously police officers involved here too. One Aurora police officer was convicted of homicide and third-degree assault in McClain's death. 2 other officers were acquitted.